Hi, everybody. It's nice to see you. Uh, Definitely summer is coming. Of course, some of you are from Boston and New York, and summer has really come in the 90s a couple days ago. Amazing. It's good to see everybody. Another article today. It's very important from my perspective, hopefully for you too. It is called The Process of How Aphasia Recovery Works, the Internalization of Higher Psychological Functions. And what that really means is that because I saved all the evidence of what was happening to me, so I had my diary, I recorded myself, I took lots of pictures. And once I had all that information, and then later, when I was able to understand what I had said, um, and then start to try to look at what I've been doing. And when I could see these transitions that I could myself could see, not having any scientific basis for any of that, clearly I was moving in some direction that eventually would have me be improved without knowing at all that what I was doing was therapeutic, and that is how I got better. And of course, since then, I've learned about plasticity. Um, so this is just another one of those uh, issues that I've seen in my diary and in my work, and now can better explain why I got better based on some of these activities themselves. Um, so you may remember because it shows up in my first book, um, and it shows up as the first recording I have, because I started recording myself. Besides the 500-page diary, I started recording myself. Turned out to be 202 um, recordings, tapes on my iPhone over about 2 years. So my first one that I recorded, I was trying to say one thing or another, and I could see that I'd woken up that morning and could see that it was 9 o'clock in the morning, but I didn't know what that was. I couldn't say that. So I ended up saying, and you see it in the article that you'll see there, um, instead of saying nine, I said it's 1 o'clock, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. So, and from then on, and you've seen it actually in other clips of my recording, I was doing the same kind of thing. I couldn't say the word. If I knew today was a Thursday, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't be able to say that word Thursday. But I would always go back to the beginning and go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday, Thursday. That's the one I want. So I was seeing that. I didn't know how this was and how it would get better, but whenever I could find the word, especially what the speech therapists call the automatics, so the letters, the numbers, days of the week, months of the year, um, uh, clock time, um, year time, um, they can tell, meaning the therapist can tell that that is one of uh, the beginning of understanding our quote loss of language is with these automatics, which wouldn't work. Um, so you get to see this, many of these in my books about this train of related items like the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3, the days of the week, and so on. And I, as I got quote better, um, knowing that I now could see that 9 in the morning, but still couldn't say it, I started saying it faster just because it seems like that's the way the brain would work. Because I was saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then I started going faster 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm actually speaking right out loud, um, realizing after a bit that that takes a lot more energy than if I were just to, on the inside, say, and I just went through it as fast as I could, as fast as thought would allow. Um, but I didn't get to that quite yet to become part of the inner speech. But I did go faster. A B C 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, as fast as I could. Then I started uh, going wicked fast, right? Because I didn't have to say 1, 2, 3, 4. I could just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 9, 10, right? That fast, and sort of leaving all these additional syllables because I didn't need them. I knew that I had to get from 1 to 9, and I didn't have to every time say it out loud. It takes a lot of time and energy to say 1, 2, 3, and then I went faster, 1, 2, 3, and then I said 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 because now you're just gobbling it. You're just going as fast as you can, knowing that you're just moving from one step to another. That it would otherwise be called 1, 2, 3, but going so fast that it's just a space in time. And eventually started skipping them completely and just go 1, 2, 3, 9, right? Just skipping right to it. And eventually, yes, it moved from the outside to the inside. So now I was beginning to say, oh, if I can get to the 9, because I still couldn't say that 9, but I can actually get to it quicker if I just say as fast as I could. Now you probably see my hands doing that too, but going as fast as you can to get to the 9, but now on the inside. And of course, over time, I then could see, if I couldn't see the 9, I could go 9, because with that hesitation, it's me just working my way through mentally what the 9 would be. And finally got to be able to see a 9 o'clock and all these other things without having to go through the each of these individual steps to get to the target that I was after. And then now, of course, now as I began to understand all that, started looking for the scientific basis for why it is that I got better, because there had to be a reason. I mean, here I was unable, now able. That's the black box, right? Unable, able, black box in the middle. How did I get there? Well, I started here on the outside, saying it, and eventually, obviously, repeating, not being told, repeat these things, just sort of happens the way the body wants, to finally being able, as it makes the transition and the transformation from the outside to the inside. So I started looking for any number of scientific books and articles that could help me understand what I had gone through, and wanted to understand the basis for that, for my improvement. And of course, by then I'd started reading, once I could read, and started really studying how the brain works from that perspective. And I did find several citations. This article just talks about one, although it mentions two. I ended up reading about Lev Lixkatsi, scientific psychologist, and very, very, very well known, although he died very, very young. And Alex Luria, which is also very famous, Russian also, scientist, and he lived a long life. Believe it or not, he was one of the students of Lev Vygotsky. He's one of the students. So I read about Lev Vygotsky. His name, one of his books is called The Mind in Society: The Development of Higher Psychological Processes. And I found out exactly what he was describing, something that he calls, that we now, I understand, is called internalization. Internalization. When it comes to plasticity, when it comes to the ability for all this activity to induce plasticity and growing new dendrites and synapses, metaphorical branches and leaves, into new brain matter, that is how I changed from the outside to the inside, unable, now able, of course, building up the additional brain matter based on these activities that induce plasticity on the inside, and then starting to have the additional brain matter and rebuilding the network and the learning field, basically with the dendrites and the synapses, and now able to do what I couldn't do before, because now it has reformed the neuro representation of all of these acts, all of these words, all of these emotions. Everything you have on the outside has a neural representation on the inside. Every single thing, everything you're seeing me doing, you're seeing it on the inside too. And that is the way the brain does it. It transforms all of that activity, whether it be the speaking or listening and other kinds of stimulus, but all of it then is transformed. It integrates all that information and it's transformed into the neuro representation on the inside. And that is how internalization happens. And that is clearly what happened with me when I went through this process of saying it out loud when I had to start at the beginning of these automatics, not knowing that this would be therapeutic to do this, not knowing that this process, eventually I became aware that this was, quote, a process, although it was me on the first step, understanding that this was the process of me getting better, but that not still really realizing how all this really does work other than just happening to do it, which was a large part of my habit to do any number of things. But I think it's also part of how the brain works, because once you have had a stroke and aphasia, and the first meeting you have with your speech therapist and you realize you can't say those words and you really start with the beginning, you don't realize that the start of that 1, 2, 3, right, the start of that chain turns out to be a complete chain. So when you used to know all these informations as one thing or another, and they become a steady stream of information, and the cue for all of that starts at the first. So it's a 1, it's an I, it's a Monday. And then you can go through all the way through and get to the one you want. Obviously, now you have to work your way through and get to that one item, whatever it might be, on the inside. So you have to sort through it and say, oh, that's what I want. I'll say the right word. Again, this is how the brain works to build, categorize, sort, and choose the activity that you otherwise had before. It got broken. Now you have to rebuild it, which you can by doing a lot of this work and the repetition. But I'm going to read a couple of these. This is the section of Lev's book that I want to read for you. If you ever get a chance to get a copy of Mine in Society, and of course you can get a copy of the article on my website as soon as I'm done here with this interview. But this is how it works. And there's a lot more to just this little paragraph. Development, as often happens, proceeds here not in a circle but a spiral, passing through the same point at each revolution while advancing to a higher level. We call the internal reconstruction of an external operation internalization. The process of internalization consists of a series of transformations. You remember what I showed you before. I went through this. I was going, saying it out loud, then saying it faster, then going really fast, then starting to skip things. All of those are transformations. One, an operation that initially represents an external activity is reconstructed and begins to occur internally. Exactly what was happening to me and to you, I am sure. And an interpersonal process is transformed into an intrapersonal one. And number 3, the transformation of an impersonal personal process into an intrapersonal one is the result of a long series of developmental events. Again, what I mentioned to you, those appears to be the individual developmental events that lead to this transformation. So it does appear that the internalization of all of these activities we do with our speech therapist, and of course, once we're on our own trying to figure this out, even with our groups where we get to have good conversations, how bad they might be. When I say good conversations, it just doesn't matter. What matters is the activities themselves, and that allows plasticity to continue to occur and allows the internalization to occur. So you're really moving from a thing. This is a thing, a clock, and you might as well swallow it because now it's on the inside. And all of that happens because the brain has this trillions of of synapses up there, and it can grow more, and it can basically rebuild everything you otherwise see with your own eyes and ears. But now it becomes a neuro representation of whatever it is that you see, whether it be a train, or just a word like the number 9. Every single one has its own representation that stands behind what you otherwise would just see as a clock on the wall. That is it for today. I love doing this one because I've had it for a long time and I just had to get it out there. There's another one coming up. Well, there's a bunch more coming up, but I want to get them out as fast as I can because people need to continue to understand through Aphasia Nation that part of what we do with Aphasia Nation is basically bringing in stroke survivors with the understanding that clearly as advocates, they are converting from being just stroke survivors into stroke educators in helping educate the wider public who don't know much about aphasia, as well as helping other people with aphasia who still haven't been able to hear from other scientists or people like me and you to help as an advocate to help you better understand how your brain has improved over the time you've had since you had your stroke. So this is all sort of part of this as we go forward with Aphasia Nation to use this information to a lot of people who don't know as much as we need to know about how the brain works. Thank you very much. I will be seeing you again soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.